Hello, welcome back. Welcome to Pilates with Jemma, that's me, and welcome to this series. This is a short series of videos that are just here to introduce you to Pilates. So this is for anyone who's been intrigued by the idea of joining a Pilates class, but maybe is a bit nervous about committing to something where they've never tried it before and they just don't really know what it's about. So I'm doing these short little videos to help people give it a go before, sort of a try before you buy, if you like. The first two videos are already up. And I would suggest that you look, especially at the second video at least, before you come into this one, because that contains some of the warm-up exercises that I'm not going to repeat now. I'm going to start with some of the exercises from the main workout so that we're not covering the same ground again. So what might be a good idea for you to do, what I do advise, is perhaps follow along with that second video, go through the warm-up, get yourself nice and warm and ready, and then come into this one and join me now in what we're doing today, which is planes of movement. So we're going to look at how we move in the different planes within Pilates. So for example, when we're moving in the sagittal plane, that means moving sort of forwards and back motion. We're thinking about flexion, curving through the body, and extension, lengthening through the spine. We might be moving in the frontal plane, so a side bend action, or we might be moving in the transverse plane, so a rotation. And we want to cover all of those things within a workout so that the body is really mobilized and balanced, and we're finding our ideal alignment of the spine. So let's start today with our flexion through the spine with our sagittal plane. We're going to start with an ab prep, and this will be the first exercise in the main bulk of the workout, and particularly if you're taking a class with me, we're always going to cover this one. It prepares the body for flexion, for curving through the spine that builds and builds as the workout goes on. So after we have done our warm-up, and feel free to pause now, go back to your other videos, do that warm-up along with me, and then jump back in here. We're going to be laying down into what we have learned is our supine position, so laying down onto our back with our knees looking up towards the sky. We know that we want our feet in line with our sit bones to create the parallel lines through the legs so that we're working evenly in a muscular fashion. We're going to take the arms along by our sides, and we have what we've also learned is our neutral pelvis. If this is unfamiliar, please do go back, have a little look at those first two videos, and then feel free to jump back in with me here. So we've got hip bones and pubic bone in the same horizontal plane, like a seesaw in balance. And if you wanted to take a moment just to find that little rock forwards and back, that can assist you to find that happy middle ground in between. We are going to take the arms along by the sides to start. We've got a nice comfortable angle under the knees. And the ab prep exercise, we're going to be flexing our spine up from the floor. And we're going to start right from the top of the body, right from the neck. We're going to add a little tilt through the top of the head. So the chin drops down, the back of the neck lengthens long. Yeah. So if I do just that motion on its own, little tiny chin nod, not so much to jam down into your chest, just a little nod. And then as we exhale, we're going to start bringing the head and shoulders up from the mat as well. Hover the arms next to you. You want to try and keep your wide, flat, neutral pelvis. So not letting the lower back press down into the floor, but keeping stabilized, wrapping that corset muscle around the waist. Inhale to stay, we're looking roughly towards the knees. And we're going to exhale to lengthen down again into the floor. So we have our stabilized shoulders. They're neither lifting nor pressing down. They're neither pulling forward nor squeezing back. They're in that happy middle ground, somewhere in between. We nod the chin as we breathe in. We flex up in the top of the body. So by keeping that little tiny nod, I've allowed my neck to support the weight of my head so that it's not hanging back or crunching down. I'm nice and free here. You can hear in my voice, I can speak quite freely. Inhale, stay. Come down. Let's go for one more of those. So breathing in to nod the chin. We engage our pelvic floor muscle from underneath as we flex up through the spine. So this is our ab prep. There are a million ways that you could modify this. One would be to carry the weight of the head in the hands. So for example, as you're flexing, you're keeping the elbows just in front of you where you can see them. Inhale to stay. And smoothly coming down. There are other ways we can modify that if you've got tight hip flexors. I can assist you with that. If you're feeling any strain through the neck, we have things that we can do to assist. So there's going to be ways that these modify, and I'll get that to you when you join my class. Let's come over onto our front. Another exercise that we can do within our sagittal plane, our front back plane, is that we find extension through the spine. And let's have a little look at this in an exercise called the breaststroke prep. We're going to take the legs long into the floor. They're either completely together or just slightly separated. And the nose is touching down, hands just outside of the shoulders. The shoulders themselves are stabilized. Once again, we know that from our basic principles video, first video I uploaded. So the shoulders are neither dropping down nor pinching back. They're somewhere happy in between. And we take a breath in to prepare. As we exhale, we think of lengthening the top of the spine forward. So the top of my head is reaching forward and the top of my chest starts to peel away from the floor. You can see I'm nice and long in the back of the neck. So I'm not thinking about lifting the chin and breaking that line of the neck. It's still nice and long, and I'm not trying to go into my lower back. Yeah, so my lower ribs are still down on the floor. I breathe in to stay. I breathe out to lengthen back down again. Let's try that again. So breathing in to prepare. We exhale to lengthen through. Top of the head reaching forward, toes reaching back, long spine. Breaststroke prep. Inhale, stay. And lengthening down again. Let's just go for one more. Breathing in. Sending that breath wide into the side and back of the ribs. Muscles around the tummy still wrapping in so that we're not crunching down through the lower back, but instead finding length all the way from tailbone to head. And pressing down. One thing we always do after an exercise for extension was to find some flexion once again. And we can do that by taking ourselves into a shell stretch. So if we separate the knees and sit back into the heels, we find this rounded curved spine like a little bridge or a little shell, and it's a shell stretch. Now, of course, again, this can be modified if this is not a comfortable position for you, in your knees, your ankles, anywhere. You can also take your shell stretch, laying onto your back, just hugging the legs into the chest instead. Can be a little space between them if that's more comfortable. A little rock from side to side is quite nice as well. Just easing any tension through the spine, through the muscles in the back. And then when we are ready, we would be coming back up to whatever position is relevant for our next exercise. And for us right now, it's going to be a seated position. We're going to look at a little spine twist. So you're going to be seated however is comfortable. And I do talk more about that in the second video, our different start positions. But for example, with the spine twist exercise, I would usually sit with my legs crossed. You might prefer to sit with your legs extended and the feet flexed. I think they've gone off the screen, but they're just flexed up at the end. Or seating onto a chair. So from whatever is your happy, comfortable seated position, we're finding our neutral spine, both tailbone and pubic bone dropping down into the floor. And we're going to take this one just with the hands crossed over the shoulders. So fingertips reaching up to shoulders, that gives us a bit of a clue if they start to creep up. So we can keep them nice and wide, level collarbones, neutral shoulder position. We inhale to prepare. As we exhale, we're going to think of our breastbone rotating around to one side. And then we're going to inhale to return again back to the center. And we can go the other way. Inhale to return. So we use that exhale to gently find that rotation pretty much from the waistline upwards. Inhales give us length. So making sure that we don't start screwing with the pelvis. We're keeping the pelvis and legs nice and still. Round with the top of the body and returning. And again, we want the neck and the upper back to stay in the same line. So try not to disappear off around the corner. Keep thinking chin over sternum. Inhale as you return. One more time to even ourselves out. And return. And let's release the arms. Let's go for one more thing for today, just to hit all of our planes of movement. So we've done flexion, we've done extension, we've done rotation. We also have worked sometimes in our neutral. And we're going to hit up now our side bend, our lateral flexion. So let's take both feet around to one side. What you could do is come from a seated position and then just drop the knees over to the side and take one foot in front of the other and the hand in line with the knees. I'm going to show you two different versions of a side bend. This first version takes a little bit of weight into the wrist and down into the bottom shin. If you know it's not going to be the one for you, or if you try it and it's not the one for you, absolutely fine, leave it and I will show you the second version. So what we can do is think of grounding down through this hand and the bottom shin. We're going to inhale to prepare. I'm long on both sides of the body, and then I'm going to lift up and over, lengthen to curve, rounding through the side of the spine and smoothly coming down again. And as is following our basic principles, neck and upper back in the same alignment, so we don't rotate the head, we're just bringing it into that side bend and smoothly coming down. If it's not working for you, if it's too much on the wrist too soon, you can come into this position instead, feet in line with the sit bones. We're going to take the arm up and we're going to bend ourselves over to the side and we're coming back again. So the main thing to think about here is that the body is only going sideways. We don't want to lean forwards, and we especially don't want to lean backwards where we might put our back into a little bit of a vulnerable position. We just want to think lift and curving over sideways, lifting again through the spine, right up before we come back. Let's go to the other side. Either taking this version with the hand open over the legs, or again repeating this one here where we've got 2 feet grounded. I'll do a couple of each just to stay with you. So again, long on both sides of the body, wide through the shoulders. We inhale as we come up and over, curve it through the side of the body, and then smoothly coming down again. If it doesn't feel right, it's not right for you just yet. You will build up to this in time. Feel free to leave this one and go back to the one where you are seated instead. Sit bones down, feet in line, lifting through the top, curving up and over to the side. Inhale to replace, exhale, bring it down. Here we want to think of our knees and our pelvis staying very neutral. So they're remaining in the sagittal plane. They're just remaining in that forward back place. And we're moving up and over to the side, up and over and back. And that is one of the ways to explain how we use these different planes of movement, and how we'd want to use all the planes of movement, all the planes available to the spine within a workout. So we're nice and well-rounded, we're fully warmed up for our day ahead of us, she says at night with the candles burning, but we are ready to go with whatever we need to tackle for that day or night. Thank you very much for joining me. There are going to be 2 more videos, and I will see you hopefully in the next one. Thank you very much.